Okay, I see the screen is coming and it's 12:05 Toronto time, so I think we can get started. So, hello everyone, welcome to our Lunch and Learn session. Release process in Agile is today's topic. And if you are here first time, my name is Aina Eliav. I am an Agile and Enterprise coach with about 10 years of experience in total in the industry. And for your awareness, this session is recorded and will be uploaded to the Agile YouTube channel, shortened versions, mostly without questions, so you can review the material, and also slides will be shared if you send me a direct message. And today I'm presenting with Dinesh, who is not the first time in our Lunch and Learn session. Dinesh is our regular presenter and my colleague and friend. So Dinesh, would you like to say a few words about yourself and your experience?
Sounds good. Thank you, Aina. And wouldn't spend much time there. I would say I'm just call myself an Agile journeyman who has been working with Agile space for more than a decade and a half now. And I find it always fascinating that every time we connect together with a lot of different people from across the world, we learn something new. So it's a collective learning session. It's not a lecture session from Dhanesh and Aina. It's more of a conversation among all of us wonderful people who has tons of experience under their belt. So we are going to have a conversation. We have very skimmed down presentation because in past we have seen when we have many slides, we either are rushing through the slides or basically not able to complete that. So this time around, on purpose, we have kept only 4 anchor slides, and we will revolve our conversations around the same and have our stories shared and have our questions answered, so to make it a really interactive session rather than a monotone on being slide presented to you guys. Right? Sounds good? Let's get started. So quick insight into, and I'm not going to spend a lot of time on this, but this is how you see waterfall. You see different phases out there, and one leads to another, from requirement to design to develop to test to implement, and that's what happens. This is what waterfall versus Agile is, just to set the context out. And then when you look at Agile, it's more of an iterative process that goes through and works together for us to deliver things faster. And we'll go to understand why we want to go and move from waterfall to Agile, and a quick brief on that, just to make sure that everybody has the context and everybody's on the same page. And then we get to the advanced level of discussion on what is this whole release process is going to be all about. So the focus is basically for the key drivers for change. If you look at improving the customer experience and deliver value faster, there are multiple other things. There's a lot of noise around different things, but if you really look at it from the enterprise's perspective as well as from the customer perspective, what am I interested in? Okay, what is my experience of something? Like, for example, let's take today's webinar itself. This is basically a service that is being delivered, right? And this service is being delivered to all of you people. Now, what would be your expectation? That you get the value out of it fast and your experience of being here is good. So that's exactly what we try to do as part of our deliverables when we are working on products or services across organizations. So our focus has to be, how do we improve and continuously improve our customer experience, and also how we deliver the value faster. Those are the key things that helps us drive for this change from being an organization that is focused on doing things in process oriented or phased gate manner or whatever, right? But in order to get to an agile organization, what you need to do, how you need to do, and what are those drivers that helps us, right? So what you're looking here is you are going to look for continuous value delivery, what you're going to look for, understanding your clients, the needs of the client, what they need, and prioritize those things and deliver those things, and track and improve upon those benefits or measurements that you have put in place for your organizations. Okay. Wouldn't be spending again much time on this. This is all basic aspects. So just wanted to make sure all audience is on the same page. All right. Now there is 5 C's of Agile release process, or also known as CICD. Any idea what could be the C's that we are talking about here? What are the 5 C's? Anyone wants to take a guess? What could be 1 or 2 or all 5 maybe? Just put it in your things in chat, or if you want to speak up, you can speak up. Just want to see if somebody has some idea what actually are going to be the 5 C's in the whole release life cycle. No one wants to take a shot at it? Any chats coming in, Aina?
No, not really. You have to answer it yourself, Dinesh.
I see one continuous integration, which is, yep, which is there. I see collaboration. Yeah, collaboration is in different form there. Yeah, but it is also there. It's called little differently, but you collaborate as part of it. So that's good one. All right. So let's move on. Let's not spend much time.
Yeah, people started answering. So we have customer centricity, consistency.
Yeah. So first C is continuous exploration. So you are always exploring. And that exploration requires collaboration. That's what I was saying, that collaboration is there, but continuous exploration is what we are going to be focusing on doing when we are doing, talking about 5 C's of our release process, right? Now, next aspect is going to be what? It's going to be something from CICD, which is continuous integration. Because when you are doing continuous exploration, and then you will get to the development, and then you have to integrate continually. And that's part of the agile release process. This is not something you do in your waterfall or traditional work environment. You work on something, keep on working in different systems or different branches or whatever, and you integrate all of that as part of your phase gate, which is called SIT, or system integration testing, or some organizations may call it staging, some organizations may call it simply the system testing. But that is when you come and do those integrations and run into tons of issues. And I'm sure each one of us lived through some horror stories on that part. All right. So then we get to continuous testing. Because if you are doing continuous integration, if you don't do continuous testing, then how would you ensure that the integration that you are doing is not going to break something? So you are always doing continuous testing also, right? What's next? Continuous deployment. Now, some may argue why we do continuous deployment. This may not be required to be delivered to the end user at this point in time. There is a concept of, which is more of a DevOps concept, decoupling deploy from release, but that's not what we are going to be talking about today. But continuous deployment is the key for you to have this whole process working for you. And last but not the least is going to be the continuous monitoring. So these are the 5 C's in Agile release process. And then if you put in a release, basically the release on demand, that adds the dimension of DevOps concept, which is there. And DevOps is a mindset again, which is enabled by use of tons of tooling. And I will go through a quick walkthrough of this, the whole process in a flow or process-based system for your reference, so that you understand how this is being coming together. So you are doing continuous exploration, which is all connecting back to your end users, also getting feedback from your monitoring systems, working on those. You are continuously prioritizing, continuously developing, continuous integration. This is whole process of getting you through the agile releases, right? So, and this is until and unless you have done this, you will not be able to meet the key driver, which is deliver value faster, which is an essential part of going agile or being adoption of the agile. Because if your release is not going to be faster, then what's the purpose of doing agility if it's not going to deliver value fast? So this is what I was referring to. I will show you a diagram which is going to showcase how things are getting enabled. There are tons of tools, and these are all sample tools, right? There may be different tools in different organizations. You might have different tools and systems that you're going to be using. This is just a sample representation of couple of clients that I have worked with, and they are using one or other tools or all of these tools as part of their whole process. So as you can see, when developer is working, and that's iterative, all cycle is iterative, using whether you are using a Scrum, Kanban, XP does not really matter. What matters is you are having iterations of those, and things goes from there to get to your development a Confluence software or Jira or where Bitbucket or whatever you are doing, then code reviews are all automated. Get to the build, again, automation. We have Gradle, Jenkins, Xcode, some sample representation there. Then you get to the unit testing, again, that is automated. So like the whole idea about getting to agile release process and deliver value faster is you have to have process and tools to support you for that mindset. So mindset is one part that you want to do it. But if you are going to throw in all manual testing out there, no matter what, your process time is going to be longer, your wait time is going to be longer, your cycle time is going to be longer, your lead time to deliver value is going to be longer. And all those are the metrics that we were talking in our previous lunch and learn session about agile metrics. So everything will get impacted if we are delaying any of these steps with the wait times and all. If you put this whole thing on a value stream process, you will still find that there are some wait times, there are some wastage happening, and you can always work on to improve those. So this, just take it as a sample example for your organization or for your teams. This is how you should be looking to set up, like every step of that is automated, right from your development environment to review to build to the unit testing to the quality to the repository, everything, everywhere you have enabled it for an automated way, because without automation, you will not be able to really realize the true value of continuous integration and continuous deployment, or in other words, agile release, because agile releases are supposed to be faster. And then when you got in there, so everything like this, there are some different tools out there. Okay, for Fastlane or APM or New Relic from the performance testing perspective, security scans, and everything is getting done, right? And you get environments on demand, get everything done, and then as soon as you're put in there, your wondering kicks in, which starts to feed back into your developer environment. So if you see, this is another representation of what we were seeing on the previous slide. All this continuously happening here, and same is more in process related people. This is how this happens. This is how this whole circle comes together and delivers value. So now this is our anchor slide. This slide we can keep it an anchor, or this slide we can keep it an anchor and have our conversation, have our questions. You can have your questions based on your current environment, what are the challenges you're facing, or if you want to share some stories. I'm sure Aina has some stories out there. So Aina, I will let you narrate a story and then we can take it from there.
Of course, thank you, Dinesh. I have a story, maybe some of you can relate to it, and Dinesh and I will answer the question. So, like, my question and my story is, what is the Scrum Master role during the release and in this agile release process in general? And the reason I'm asking that, because I was transitioning to a Scrum Master role from a project management, but I wasn't an IT project manager. I was an electrical engineer project manager. And then I had studied MBA in technology. And so that's how I transited to IT. And then I had a very small team where I worked part-time online. So
your voice is not coming through, Aina.
Oh, is it?
Now it is coming, yeah.
Okay, sorry for that. So I was leading one small team part-time in Europe, so I never dealt with releases there. I was mostly a facilitator for the team and partly project manager. And then I got the first position in the big enterprise. And I wasn't the only one. There was another Scrum Master who got a position there. And the first question he asked me was, Alina, what was the release process in your previous organization? And I freaked out because I didn't know. And I feel like, oh my God, it's just my first hour in the organization and I already don't know what to answer. And then we met a person, a release process manager there. And so she explained us the release process in that organization. And I was terrified again because most words they used I've never heard. And so my first day was so stressful because I feel like I need to learn all of this. And Dinesh, if you switch the next slide, if you see it the first time, all of the applications like for build, for test, for unit testing, etc. When you see it the first time, it's scary because you feel like, oh my God, I need to learn unit test. I need to learn SonarQube. I need to learn Jira software, which was true. Like as a Scrum Master, I needed to learn Jira software, but the rest, like SonarQube, Jenkins, etc., I didn't need to have a deep knowledge. But I didn't know at that time, and I was afraid to ask because I felt like an imposter already. So it was like some time when I struggled while my transition into a Scrum Master role. And I think some of you can relate if you are transitioning from a non-tech roles to tech roles. So Dinesh, what do you think about Scrum Master involvement into this process and what depth of knowledge this person needs to have?
That's a very, I would say, valid question in current context, specifically when we have so many organizations producing so many Scrum Masters, and those Scrum Masters does not necessarily come with the technology background or have ever worked as a technology person, and hence will find themselves out of the place. Now, Scrum Master may or may not be a technology person. However, that person needs to have technical know-how in terms of what all goes in, how they need not to be expert of any of these tools, be it Gradle, Bitbucket, SonarQube, Artifactory, any of these. They may not be even an expert user of any of these. Forget about being having understanding on those in and out. However, they need to understand what are the tools being used in different phases, what are the lingo that is going to be used by the team, because if they do not relate to the conversation that are being done by the team, as you said, they will feel like imposter, and in some scenarios, they may be imposters because they really are not making effort. So this is all about making an effort to be there with the team and understand how the conversation has to go, play, how you have to drive the conversations. And if you are going to be supporting, if you are going to be a servant leader for the team, that is one of the foremost qualities in a Scrum Master. How would you serve them if you do not understand what are they looking for? If team says, oh, we are facing issue with our artifact repository, and for you it is an alien word, you will not be able to support them. So you certainly need to have the technical appreciation and the whole landscape. You should understand it, may or may not be, and you even a user of it. So even if you really ask me, I've spent more than couple of decades in the industry, and I've been into even in the beginning of my career, I've been into the techno-functional roles and even pure technical roles for some time. But have I been through all these tools? No. Have I understood about these tools, how they work, what they do? Yes. How do I support my teams if they have any questions about it? Oh, sure, I will be certainly able to speak in their language, talk about what kind of flow they are looking, how they are doing their scripting, like all those. Like if you understand the nuances, like what is this tool about and what it does, That's all you need from a Scrum Master perspective. If you have more, that's all the time better. But if you do not know the tools, if you do not know the landscape, you certainly cannot be a true servant leader to the team. And I'm calling it servant leader to the team, not a Scrum Master, because there are different naming conventions that are being used in the industry. You could be a Scrum Master, you could be a Flow Master, you could be a team coach, you could be a uh, any other name in the industry that might be used, right? So, but your primary job remains the same, that you are custodian of the values and principles that is there from the Agile perspective, so that team follows that, and you being the servant leader for the team. And in order to become that, no doubt in my mind, and I'm sure my peers would agree from the industry, including yourself, Anna, that you need to understand what all it is about and what all it does. Can you do it on your own? Can you go and do scripting in Jenkins or do SonarQube or use those? No, that's not needed. For that, you have the team. They are the experts. They are the ones who will be guiding you. Oh, we need this. So I know we are getting stuck in this. We need this. Your job is to take that to the next level and get that impediment resolved.
Thank you, Dinesh. And I just want to emphasize for those who just joined, so as a Scrum Master or a servant leader, you need to understand the processes, at least on the basic level. So the most basic level is your team is coding. So they code, they test, they integrate, and then they deploy. This is the simplest way. In different organizations, it can be called like different, it can have different titles, like sometimes you have testing environment, sometimes it's called staging environment, sometimes it's called seed environment, but it's all about testing. Or sometimes it's called like share dev or something else, but it's all about development. It's code. So in your mind, you need to keep like code, test, deploy, or like integrate. And then this slide is also good for start to understand which tools are using for what stage of the process. So if someone from the team tells you something about Jenkins, that they have problems with this tool, so you need to understand that Jenkins is a tool. You don't need to know how to use the tool. You have the team who knows how to use it. You understand that it's about something is happening during the integration process. And then you resolve the issue knowing who else in the organization can help your team to resolve it. You're not the one who is jumping into Jenkins and fixing it or like telling people how to fix what is happening there. You connect people with someone who can help, but to be able to connect the dots together, you need to understand the processes and you need to understand what each tool is about. The only one tool you see here, you need to have deep knowledge is Confluence and Jira software, because as a Scrum Master, this is your tool number one you use for the organization. If your organization uses Jira or Confluence, if they don't use, they're going to be something else you use as a number one to track the team progress.
Yeah, that's a valid point. Yeah, Jira and Confluence are certainly most used, but they are not the only tools. There are certainly a lot of other tools that are there, but their adoption is less. Hence, typically we talk about Jira and Confluence as tools of choice in most organizations, specifically in large organizations. You will find Atlassian suite of products ruling the roost there. So, all right. So, time for you guys to speak up and have your experience shared or have your questions asked. That's what it is all about. So next 30 minutes are your 30 minutes, and we are here to have conversation, have discussions about it, and provide you guidance and support that we could offer based on our own experiences.
And if you'd like to speak up, please raise your hand and you can share your experience or question. Or if you are uncomfortable to speak, just drop your question to the chat and we will read it and answer as best as we can.
Hi, all. Hi, Ganesh. Hi, Anna.
Hello, Amir.
Yeah, this is okay. So I had a question here. So we discussed about the release process here. So my question is like how frequently the release is should be. So ideally on paper answer would be like daily, but is there any specific cadence that teams or organizations should follow?
That's a very interesting question, Amir, and it's as you said, uh, everybody would like to do it either daily or even hourly for that matter, right? But is it really feasible in any organization? So probably not. So it has to be tailored based on the organizational context, the constraints in terms of infrastructure you have, the constraints in terms of the processes you have, and the industry you are working in. Like for example, in social media industry, it's really easy to throw in a feature because there is no impact from your compliance perspective or PII perspective and all. But when you talk about the financial industry, there are so many things coming to the play, right? If you want to do something, how this is going to be risking the things, how this PI is going to be exposed, how many, all those checks and balances you have to do in terms of your ensuring that what you are delivering is exactly going to work the way it is going to be working, and it's not going to bring in additional risk to the organization. So it's certainly going to be tailored based on the organizations. Typically, what organizations are trying to get to a scenario is ability to deliver on cadence, which is typically a bi-weekly cadence. And many organizations, specifically in the digital services space, are able to have even weekly releases. So it's not something which is undoable or unthinkable. It is quite possible, and organizations are doing it. So week to 2 week is kind of a sweet spot for most organizations. Sometimes it is also like a once a month release, which is like specifically in very complex scenarios and banking industry, they want to be double sure of anything being released to the end user. But that is something is where your decoupling comes into the play. When you are talking about an organization where you are going to be having certain PI related or some compliance related risks, what you do in those environments is you are still continuously deploying, right? That deployment is still continuous, but release of that value, the release is on demand. What you do, you deploy it there and you do those releases that are like canary releases or control releases or A/B testing. There are multiple things that can be done there. So you do those with a select group of internal users or even export to some select group of external users, and then you release that or unlock that with a flip of switch. Excuse me, typically it is getting done by use of the toggles, if you are familiar with the toggles and all from the technology perspective. So teams would use feature toggles, they will release it, they will deploy it and release it only to the select user. When everything is good, its quality has been double assured, double checked with respect to all those risks, you release it to the end user without doing anything extra by just a flip of switch, which is a soft switch. So in nutshell, typically large medium enterprises are targeting to be on weekly or bi-weekly cadence in order to release value. However, certain scenarios, it could be even monthly.
Okay.
Now, this is a big jump from what these organizations used to have, like once or twice a year release, or then they graduated to doing a quarterly release, but those were not enough. So now it is now getting graduated to weekly or bi-weekly release.
And I can add to this. So sometimes the leaders are trying to switch to Agile without Agile coaches or like any support, just watching a few videos on YouTube. And what they capture from Agile, or in Agile, we have frequent releases, like Dinesh told, 1 or 2 weeks releases. And currently they have like a release once a quarter or once in 3 months, and they want to change it, but they don't understand the technical process behind it at all. So they see the word Agile, or in Agile is magically happening 1 week or 2 weeks. Let's do it. And so what they see about Agile is basically Scrum ceremonies. So leaders start believing that just by introducing Scrum ceremonies to the team, we can get 1 or 2 weeks releases, which is not true. And then the leaders pressure the team, and the team feels like we can't tell the leaders that's why it's impossible, or leaders don't hear or don't understand why it's impossible, and it creates too much pressure for both sides. So in order to do that, the leadership, or like the team or Scrum Master, whoever communicates with leaders, need to explain that Agile is great. Agile will bring us to the stage eventually, but it's not just the ceremonies. We need to change the processes and introduce new tools like DevOps or test automation, or like whatever the other organization use to achieve this 1 or 2 weeks releases. We can't switch just from 3 months to 2 weeks by introducing Agile ceremonies.
All right. Amir, did we answer your question? Do you have
Thanks,
any
Anish.
follow-up
Thanks,
question or clarification?
No, good.
Okay, cool. Thank you for asking your question, Amir. Anyone else is feeling brave to ask question?
Yeah, I have one question.
Sure, Sikha.
Yeah, in this diagram, which you are showing here, can you tell me what are the DevOps practices out of these? Or if I would say the agile release process, it can be interchangeably called as DevOps release process, or there is a difference, and what is the difference?
Okay, that's a very good question. So yes, in industry, CICD is interchangeably used with DevOps. However, the difference lies in having the whole integration connected with the 5 C's. When I was talking about the 5 C's there in the previous slide, I can just pull that up for a first slide. So if you see, this is basically the only thing which is missing in this picture to make it a DevOps is release on demand, because that is something is DevOps mindset, because that way you are bringing in decoupling of your release of value to your end user based on the need, and you are not simply pushing everything out in the production. This basically talks about everything you are working and taking it directly to the production. So the only difference would be having a release on demand as part of the deployment release process. So it's called continuous deployment release on demand. So that's how it is being configured. And what happens there is you basically are not working in this circular fashion. You are more working in an infinite loop fashion, right? So when you're looking at like this, so your continuous exploration is starting your development, and you're feeding into the information, and then you are going into the integration phase 2, you are going into the deployment phase and feeding back into your continuous exploration. So this is more of an infinite loop that happens there, not a circular fashion. So CI/CD is, I would say, an advanced stage for you to get to a true DevOps, because in the absence of your CI/CD, your DevOps cannot be in place. Your DevOps value cannot be realized, because continuous integration and continuous deployment is integral to your whole DevOps mindset. For you to realize the value of being there right from the beginning, like bringing your dev and ops together, like when you're breaking down those silos, the intent is to have them work together and coexist and support each other to maximize or optimize the benefits they bring in. Development is trying to bring in new features. Ops is trying to stabilize the systems, right? That's their typical, I would say, watertight roles in a waterfall environment, and that's where they get into the loggerheads basically. So Dev will be saying, "Oh no, we do this. No, we are going to introduce this." What we do as part of the DevOps, we bring them together. We have them together, work on a minimum viable product, or work on things like how we are going to be bringing in practices, or it is also called shift left. So you are shifting left the things that you are doing on the right side of the spectrum, which is specifically things like security testing, things like your performance testing, which are like afterthoughts, your penetration testing. All these are afterthoughts in the whole release process. And that becomes bone of contention between dev teams and ops teams in traditional environment. But when you bring them together, you have them those practices together, and that's where this whole process comes into play. You are bringing in everything there. You see code quality is being checked right there. When you're putting it in more of pipeline, you even try to do certain things upfront. It is like not in as linear as it is being shown here. There could be something performance testing even happening here. There's some security scans that those are the things that could be done here. This is more of what you can do at that particular stage of your development, bring that in there so that your cost of making those changes is going to be optimized at a later stage in time. So this certainly is a needed aspect or much needed aspect of DevOps, that you have your CICD in place.
And a bit of promo here. So Dinesh and I had a webinar on DevOps a few months ago, and I shared a Discord group link here on chat. So if you join our Discord group, the DevOps webinar will be shared with you there.
Oh, nice. Thank you so much. I'll have a look. Thank you.
Most welcome. So did we answer your question, Sikha, or you have any other follow-up question there?
Yes, pretty much. So I would say the DevOps practices and what is shown here, the agile practices for release management, they overlap.
Basically. Well, they have to see, this is going to be integral to your DevOps. So if you say the moment you talk about DevOps, you're going to talk about continuous integration, continuous deployment. It is going to be a part and parcel of the whole package. Okay, cool.
Thank you.
Welcome.
Okay, we have a good question here on the chat.
Okay, let me open the chat.
What is the direct message to me? So the release process that was shown in the slide, is it specific for Scrum or applies for all of the Agile methodology?
Oh, this is methodology agnostic. You may be following Scrum, Kanban. I would even go to the extent, to me, even if you are doing waterfall, I do not care. Your release process could still be faster if you're going to adopt to these practices, even in your waterfall environment. And I have seen an evolution of multiple organizations back in 2008, 2010 days. And Citigroup is, as you know, is a global organization. They have, like, their IT organization itself is as big as any IT service providers are. And they basically what they did was they brought in a lot of these practices as part of their waterfall development process itself. And we worked on, and we called that a 2I model or 2 iterative model, right? 2I. And that was the model we worked together and we did back in 2008 days. And that was, I would say, interim state from getting from pure waterfall to agile environment. And we were able to do a lot of good practices, specifically with respect to around automation of things and bringing like security as a first thought and having performance being thought first. And that was a learning, and there is a good story out there. So that was a learning that came from phase one of a project that we were doing. It was a big multi-year program for legacy modernization for Citigroup. So when we were doing, and we decided to do a first release in 9 months, about 9 months time, because SCD systems were pretty, I would say, not not robust. I will not go into any integrated remark there, but those were not robust systems we had. And our first release could be coming out only in 9 months time frame, but that release gave us learning that the expected performance of the system was way too low. It was completely on the unacceptable range. And this was happening because nobody was thinking about security performance and as an upfront thing. So what we did when we created the 2I model, we brought in all these aspects of security performance and penetration towards the left, and we built in as part of our HLD and LLD itself, which is high level design, low level design for your reference. So we brought in those things there and we implemented few things there. This is how it is going to be done. And performance is going to be integral to everything that is being delivered and that is being integrated. So everything was getting tested. So we brought in a lot of automation into the play. The test automation was brought in there. So things were done even without calling it agile. And we were able to, in our next iteration, which we could deliver in 4 months time. So we brought in from 9 months to 4 months time. Suddenly you need to define the scope, what is going to be in there, because you cannot have 9 months scope going in 4 months. The scope was smaller certainly. And when we released that out, that met the expectation, or did not completely met, but that was very close to the expectations of the customers. So just to put numbers in perspective, the response time of that multi-tier architecture, which was to remove the legacy from the system to bring it built into the modern architecture, was brought down from 8 to 10 seconds time frame to 2 to 3 second time frame. And then we set ourselves for the next challenge to get to sub 2 second time response time. And in the next iteration, we were able to reduce our time from 4 to 3 months and get sub 2 second response time. So you can still apply all these things, and these are not new things, by the way. All these doing practices like your code reviews, your development in peer development, or nowadays there is like mass programming is also in play. A lot of organizations do mass programming, peer programming. All these practices are at least 2-3 decades old, 3 decades old, because these all come from XP, and those are like that predates even Agile. Those are the technical practices. Those are not your methodology related principles or values. Those are more of a technical practices, and those technical practices holds good no matter what methodology you are applying in your work environment. Hope that answers the question. Whoever asked that, Aina, check with the person. And anything else that has come on to your direct chat?
No, nothing on my direct chat, and please let us know if we answered your question. And now, if anyone else have any questions, feel free to unmute yourself.
Yeah, this
Hello.
is your time. Ask your questions.
Hello, Aina and Danish.
Hello,
This
Lavanya.
is hi. So yeah, thanks for the session first of all. And I have a question. Like currently, I'm working in Agile Scrum framework model. Like I have few experience. Like I have kind of like intermediate level of knowledge. So my question is something like this, like where I want in the future, like I wanted to become like a Scrum Master or Agile transformation coach. So being experienced professionals like you and Aina, so can you let me know like how we can become an Agile professional coach or a Scrum Master or a related roles, um, like by getting the certified Scrum Master, or like we have a lot of certifications like ISTQB, something like that. Like it will be really helpful, like if you can share your knowledge on this, like how to proceed further as a early professional like me. Yeah.
Sure, Lavanya.
Thank
So
you. It's
if I
really
understand your question right, you are
Sorry, Dinesh. On the top of that, I just got a private message. Also, like how to become an agile coach, and also what is an agile coach role in coaching agile release processes in the organization. So I think these two questions are connected. That's why I interrupted.
Okay, no worries. Yep. So thank you, Lavanya, for asking that question, and whoever has asked that question in addition to direct chat with Aina. So let me rephrase the question. First part of the question is the path to become a Scrum Master / Agile Coach. Correct? And second part of that is how Agile Coach or what role Agile Coach plays in the whole process of the release.
Yeah.
Correct?
Correct.
Okay. So let's tackle the first part first. So which is how to become a Scrum Master Agile Coach. I would say first and foremost, there are certain things that are required in terms of your mindset and your behavioral aspects, and there are certain people who are very command and control kind of people. They want to control everything. They want to give commands to the people, get things done, and it is not bad to have those type of people, but those type of people are probably not going to be the right fit for the Scrum Master role or Agile Coach roles, because here you are completely going away from command and control and getting into the collaboration. You have to have that mindset first and foremost. Anything and everything comes later. If your mindset is right, you are not going to be jumping onto the providing solutions to the teams. You are not going to be jumping on to giving them orders. So you do that, you do this. Only then you would be able to transition into a true Scrum Master Agile Coach. So the moment you try to be directive, the moment you try to be a controlling person, you will basically be fitting into another role, which is a project management or project manager role. And typically project managers are command and control people, and they have very strong personality. They are able to direct people. They are able to do things in this way. Oh, you do this, you do that, you do. Now, Scrum Master does it also, but in a different way. They ask people, how do we do it? What can be done? And works out a more realistic plan to work together and deliver value. Now, some people will say, oh, does project manager not deliver value? No, they deliver value. I'm not against project managers and I'm not against the Scrum Master. What I'm saying is their way of delivering value is different. And the path they take is more of resistance. Path Scrum Master take is more of collaboration. Now, project managers, you will see typically will have very stiff, stringent timelines out there. They will say you need to have done by this date, that date, and that date. Now, what it does, it will compromise on one or other. Either the quality is going to be compromised, or it's going to be timeline will be compromised, or cost will be compromised. Right now, when you come to the agile environment, your quality is at utmost there, right? You're not compromising on quality because you are working together with the team to come up with that plan. So first and foremost part, your mindset has to be of collaboration. You should have that knack of servicing people, trying to provide people what they need, not do it for them. The moment you are into do it for them kind of scenario, you have to change that. So that is a lot of unlearning is involved. You have to unlearn. If you have developed those habits, it's going to be certainly required for you to unlearn those and learn how you are going to be collaborating better, how you are going to be becoming a servant leader to the team. Then comes your understanding of, if you want to be a Scrum Master, then it comes to your understanding the framework, understanding the nitty-gritties, understanding how to respect the time boxes, how to work together on within those time boxes and all. How do you organize yourself in terms of delivering in a Scrum way? That's going to be going in depth on your Scrum practices to become a Scrum Master, right? But if you are going to be a Kanban or Flow Master, you need same expertise on Kanban practices. If you want to be a Scrum Ban practitioner, you need equal expertise in Scrum and Kanban, and these are two different frameworks, right? And if you want to be a technical, some people call it technical Scrum Master, or some people call it Scrum Tech Lead, or whatever, right? Organization to organization, it's different. I'm just trying to give all flavors out there. In that scenario, you need to be really good techie also, because you are expected to play some role in terms of providing technical guidance to the team. Now, all three aspects would require different expertise. For a true Scrum Master, you need to have all the technical appreciation, understanding, having the right mindset, and having your expertise on Scrum. Kanban, expertise on Kanban, understanding how things work, how you are going to be again evolving and working with the team. Or XP practices, if you are going to be technical side, you need to be really, really strong and understand all those technical practices that are going to be bringing in value for the team, and you can be the custodian for those. So you have to do that. Then comes your certification part. Now, I'm not pro or against of any certification. From my end, you can go for any certification. You can go for CSM, you can go for SSM, you can go for PSM, you can go for SMC or whatever. I do not care, because all of those are going to teach you in depth about Scrum. Same goes for the Kanban. You can go for the Lean Kanban University, or you can go with a Pro Kanban University. It does not matter. That will provide you in-depth knowledge about Kanban. Now, unless you have practiced it as part of a team, you will not be able to bring in the real life scenarios to work with your team. You certainly need certain experience under your belt, or you need to be in the mentorship of a seasoned Scrum Master or seasoned Kanban person. And once you have your command over multiple frameworks, you understand all of that, you understand even DevOps or CICD side of it, you are ready to become an Agile coach. Because an Agile coach is not just there for Scrum, or just there for Kanban, or just there for DevOps. Coach is there for everything. All aspects, all 360-degree has to be covered. So you certainly need to build your muscle or build your technical expertise. When I say technical, it's not coding and all. Technical in terms of understanding the methodologies, understanding different scaling frameworks, understanding how you are going to be scaling. Because coach is not there just for one team. Coach is there for multiple teams. Coach is there for the business units. Coach is there for the executive. So you need to have all the appreciation, ability to stand in front of the senior executives and talk about things, what matters. So all that, it's a gradual process. Now, can it be done by anyone? I would say anyone can do it. The only thing is, you start with your own mindset and then evolve yourself into getting more insights into, become an expert on. I would say, if Lavanya, if you want to be a Scrum Master, become an expert on anything and everything has to be done with respect to the Scrum, in addition to having your real life work experience back it up with you. All right. Now, Lavanya, you are saying something, yeah?
No, I was just about to answer, but yeah, go ahead, please, Dhanush.
Okay. And when the second part of the question was, what does Agile Coach does? So as I said, when you are an Agile Coach, you would know all of those aspects. So you guide the teams there. You will always have technical experts. I, as an Agile Coach, will never say, how are they going to configure their Jenkins exports or not? No, I can only suggest them that this is what needs to be done. I'm there only to guide them through the process. They are going to solve their own problems. I am there to support them in their journey to find right solutions in their context, because it's not one size fits all. Agile is not a magic bullet. DevOps is not a magic bullet. and each organization's ecosystem is different. Each organization's technology stack is different. So it's overall process perspective, how you reduce the waste, how you bring things to the left, and guiding that process, ensuring that they stay on track, they do not get digressed on from the things. The coach's role is more of like, if you want to connect with the games. So, for example, like you see soccer or even cricket, I see a lot of Indian names, but soccer from non-Indian names perspective, or from that matter, baseball, basketball, any. You see coaches. Coaches are always on the outline, right? Experts are there, who are working and doing things in the field. Coaches will not go in the field and bat for the team or score for the team or goal for the team, right? Coaches are not going to do any of that work. Coaches are there to support and guide and keeping them to realize their true potential. Okay. With that, we have reached our time box, Aina.
Yeah, and I want to share my experience because I think that
wait. Lavanya is saying something. Yes, Lavanya.
Yes, Danish, thanks for answering my questions. Now I got some idea and knowledge like how to proceed further. Yeah, with your
Most welcome.
Yeah.
Yeah, you can conclude, and then we can conclude for today's conversation. And I'm more than willing to have more conversation. Feel free to connect on LinkedIn. You can simply use our QR codes from here to connect with us and have your questions. And we continue to do these lunch and learn sessions. Sorry, and I will have to jump for my other conversation, but I will let you close this. And thank you everyone for joining in. Truly appreciate your time, and feel free to connect and have your questions. We'll be happy to support your journey in Agile as much as I can. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Dinesh. And I will share my experience since I have a bit more time to stay with you guys. So Lavanya, you asked about how we became coaches. So the way I became a Scrum Master, it actually happened due to Toastmasters when I met my first Agile coach and introduced myself and told that I want to be a Scrum Master in the organization you work for. And since we were in a group for like some time, he observed me facilitating the conversations with the Toastmaster group, like the way I present, the way I behaved. And I shared that I have some experience, like that part-time job I mentioned when we started this meeting, but I was honest to him, telling it wasn't like real Agile experience. So looking honestly, I don't have like that much experience as I brag on my resume. And he was like, okay, let me like talk to you, and invited me for a coffee chat. And then we just spoke about life, and he asked me different questions, work-related and non-work related. And at the end, we spoke like 2 to 3 hours, despite the fact that we agreed for less time. And in the end, he told like, you are natural in your mindset, and don't worry that you have that much experience as other people have. I see Scrum Masters every day who came from technical background, but there's so much command and control, and they are not servant leaders. And it's much easier to teach you and to train you these hard skills rather than to retrain them to have the soft skills. So in the books he recommended me to start with, so this is the first one by Jeff Sutherland, one of the fathers of Agile. And honestly, like this title, The Art of Doing Twice the Work in the Half of the Time, so it's not really about Scrum, it's just to sell Agile and Scrum to the larger audience. And we can't blame Jeff, because at that time they needed to spread Agile word to the large enterprises, and the way how could they spread it? Just to offer the business what they really want to hear, twice work to the half of the time. But it's a good book for start. Another certificate he recommended me, it's the PMI ICP, and this is the book how it looks like. So PMI ICP is not very valid in Canada. Canadian recruiters prefer PSM or Scrum Alliance certificate regarding Scrum, but I don't regret that I did it, that I bought the book and I passed the exam and got a certificate, because it gave me overall knowledge of Agile, not just about Scrum or any specific framework. And it helped me to proceed to my Agile Coach career sooner because I had like an umbrella, what I need to get. And this third book he recommended me is John Doerr, Measure What Matters, to understand the OKRs, the goal setting, and how to speak with the stakeholders. And then when you're a Scrum Master, as Dinesh mentioned, you get expertise, like in Scrum, if your team is running Scrum or Kanban, if your team works in Kanban, and then you gain like more experience with different frameworks like Scrum, Kanban, SAFe. First, you work with one team since you're unexperienced, and then you work with two teams. So normally one Scrum Master can be shared between two teams. And then when you feel like you're comfortable with two teams, you start to do more for organization and collaborate more with the stakeholders. So actually, like the major difference between a Scrum Master and an Agile Coach, Scrum Master is inside of the team and you're tactical. You can be like proactive and thinking strategically, but you're also tactical because you are inside the team, especially when the team is new to Agile, and you need to operate inside compared to the experienced team when you can be kind of like an Agile Coach. When you're a coach, you don't work inside the team. You have multiple teams that you need to observe on the higher level. So you see a bigger picture, and you also need to know how to speak with business stakeholders. And that's what I see the most struggle with Scrum Masters or project managers when they come to business. And they speak the way they speak to me or to the team. Instead of bringing the solution, they just complain about the issues and don't propose what they want from the business, how they want business to solve the problem. So this is the first thing you need to know, and you need to adjust that you collaborate with different people. They're different beasts. You need to speak their language, not your language, and not the team language. So the team can bring you the issue and you transfer the issue into the business language. You need to be able to speak numbers and keep in mind that business people, they think numbers all the time. While they're listening to you, what is happening, why the team has blockers, impediments, they think numbers. They think how much money they already lost and how much money they need to spend for fixing the issue. So you need to bring it up and also be able to collaborate in numbers. But even if you don't have numbers at your level, you need to make sure that you remember that they think numbers, and this is how you adjust the way you communicate with them. And also, you kind of like a mitigator when you're a coach, like you coach the stakeholders, you coach the team, you make sure that they work together and keep focusing on delivery. So there is more like conflict resolution, change management. When you're a Scrum Master, you don't really do change management. You participate in change management, but you don't run it. So this is probably the last major difference from a Scrum Master or a coach. But basically, when you are an experienced Scrum Master, sooner or later, you feel like natural progression that you're ready to be a coach, and most likely you're going to be promoted. And I see a few questions on the chat. Unfortunately, we need to drop because we are over time. But again, if you join this Discord group, I will answer them there. And if you have questions after that, or like after you review the slides of the recording, feel free to drop them into a Discord group and they will be answered. So thank you.